Hey everybody, this is Jordan with Conquer Trading and Investing, and it is good to be back. I'm glad you're here with me. Before we get going, I just want to make a quick check of the audio and make sure that we have everything functioning correctly. Awesome. Appreciate that, everyone. And let's get going here. Wow, this is like a cold start. Been off for a couple of weeks, a lot going on. And I'm going to pretend I don't know anything going on so that I could get a feel for what is going on. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you all had a great couple of weeks. Definitely missed being together. Um, so what I do know from this morning is that we have the pound is the strongest currency and the JPI is the weakest. The yen is the weakest. And I do know that we had some good numbers out of Europe, the investor confidence, I believe it was, and also some PMI numbers. And the euro is definitely um, taking back some of Friday and Thursday's losses on that, but trading right here at resistance right now. And that this morning we have some PMI numbers at 10 o'clock, about an hour from now, non-manufacturing PMIs out of the US. All right. All right. Happy New Year, everybody. Um, so let's start with the euro since we're here with the euro. And like I just said, we just had some good numbers come out of the euro. And where are we right now? Well, but the difficult piece to this is that we have a lot of geopolitical events going on with things that have taken place over the last few days, and you don't know these days whether that is going to initially be a flight to safety, i.e., I'm talking about the U.S. dollar here, um, because the more the U.S. starts any kind of trouble in the world, you start seeing the dollar perhaps being people diversifying away from the dollar. We are seeing that enormously in gold this morning and since Friday. Look at this. Look at that move on gold. And we'll get to that in just a moment. We'll come right back to that after the euro or after the DXY. So let's continue taking a little peek further at the euro. And so all that I notice right now, just looking this from a technical standpoint, just from the charts alone, I am noticing that we're at this resistance right now. All right. We're back up here against this resistance. We did on Wednesday peak above there, right? On Tuesday we peaked above there, didn't hold. We held above on Wednesday, and then sold off on Thursday and Friday. And look over here. If you were to put like a trend line over, let's do that. Nope, not at all. I was noticing here the slope of this, and probably if you put it between these two, you would have it. Um, so what do I think is going to happen here? What am I looking to do? Well, I'm very unsure what's going on here right now. It looks to me like that this area over here is going to hold. All right, this should be straight, but I don't know that it's going to. We'll check back after the 10 o'clock Eastern time after the PMI numbers, and we'll see how the euro US dollar is reacting around this level because it's at an important resistance level right here, right now. Um, and we'll see if it holds or not. All right, we just need to kind of right now just get a feel for everything going on and then come back to it to get more precise. Thanks. It's really good to be back. I welcome all of you back. I'm happy to be here with you today. I definitely feel, I just want to tell you off the bat from the very beginning that I feel off my game, and I'm hoping by the end of this session I'm back on it. But I mean that's to be expected. A quick analogy: if anyone plays any sports, if you take a couple of weeks off and then you get back on, it takes a little while to get warmed up. And although I'm super excited to get back trading, I'm not going to do that until I see it, right? And that could be as early as right now here this morning with you if I see something glaring, but I'll know when I see it. Let's look at gold. And we're trading right now at, I don't know if it's 5 or 6 year highs. Gold is definitely, you have a couple of things happening with gold, and that's mostly that the U.S. is monetizing its debt. You also, and how long that's going to continue and go on for, I don't know. I expect it's going to continue. Um, you know, I think gold. Oof, let's step back here, everybody. Gold could still continue just to run right now that it's broken up here. If this holds, I don't know if you want to look on a weekly. No, look at this. Exceptional. Right over here, we were following this bull flag and this bear flag, and it really wasn't a bear flag, huh? Because why? Well, I was looking at it like this. I was looking at this much of the chart. All right, I'm really correcting myself here, and this is really important. I'm doing this for everyone, for myself right now. I was looking at this much of the run and calling this a bear flag, but why that was wrong? Well, let's go since the bull started, since the breakout of this trend line started. You know, that's what I should have been looking at. And I'm just taking a moment here to reinforce that in myself. Uh, we were in we were in definitely a bull move. This was nothing more than a pullback, and look how this is extended since. Look, if we were trading this live, if I was trading this live, there's no way I would have got into the trade on the breakout over here. I know we were stalking this level over here. We were waiting to see if the price eventually, the bulls came back and took this level out. But I don't play the straight breakout, right? And we never got a pullback. I never would have had an opportunity to get in. I know that. Nevertheless, got to take a look. I don't see a place to even think about getting long right now. So I'm just acknowledging that we have possibility of a long ways to move to the upside, but there's no point in chasing this right now. We'll see when something further develops. What could possibly develop? As of right now, looking at this blindly, why I say blindly, but I've not been following it. I think that this support line over here around 1518 is really important. I don't know that we'll ever. Can you imagine even saying that? I don't know that we'll ever see that again. I don't know that we'll see that again anytime soon. And then we have this trend line over here. I don't see any other support backing up this trend line over here to lean off of. So right now, I'm just gonna hold off on gold. All right. Good, Austin. Glad the audio's okay. Sorry about that. What else do we have going on? Let's look at the DXY. So the DXY continues to trade within this channel, and I do call this a bull flag, and you can see why we're just still call it a bull flag. And if we break down out of this pattern, look, let me extend this a little low. If we break down out of this pattern and below this support down here at 96, I think then we see some serious dollar weakness. Until that happens, I think the dollar holds over here. You did see the support come into play. We saw a couple of things happen. We'll cover that in the weekly Forex forecast. I don't need to get into it right now with you. As far as the resistance holding up here, but the support held over here. And right now, I expect this is going to continue to hold until it doesn't. If this doesn't, I'm going to get really bearish on the dollar. Um, but again, until it does, I believe it's going to hold. It's not giving us much to work off of today yet this morning. That's okay. Things will start becoming clear. Let's take a look at the pound US dollar. If anyone's got a pair they're looking at this morning, want to review, let me know. You could see that mostly I'm focused on the daily right now. Haven't really gotten down to the 8 hour. That's because I'm still looking to see what is setting up and how it's setting up. This continues to look mixed here on the pound US dollar. These support lines have, have held, but not much else of a clearer picture. I don't know how much this upper trend line is still coming into play anymore. Yeah, you can see it. Look at the touches over here, and then again over here. So I'll leave that in right now. Not much else going on that I could see on the pound US dollar. I'm not sure why the pound is the strongest today. So I don't have any much to offer on that right over there. But let's look at the pound Japanese yen. I want to take a look at the strongest and weakest pair in the day. Again, not very clear. This support came into play and held. That's why we have our support lines drawn in and our resistance lines drawn in. They are definitely the keys. But there's not much else happening. You could extend this little resistance over. Draw that in as resistance. We get above this resistance here, and then we have something to lean off of. Could we have leaned off of this support over here? Let's look on the 8-hour. Possibly. For me, I couldn't, and the reason why was because the true trend was negative here, and the way that I was trading the pound Japanese yen is within the direction of the true trend on an automated system, so it was not possible for me to be looking at this over here. But looking at this discretionary, in hindsight, you could see it. I don't really see it in real time. I just wanted to look at that now. We get above this resistance over here. All right, then possibly I could start looking at longs. So going in, in interesting that we're seeing thanks Blair. Interesting that we're seeing the PMI improve in both Europe and England, that side of the world. And um I don't know if the things they gotten so bad that you're seeing a little bit of a reprieve, or it's a sign of things turning around in the eurozone. Suppose it's too soon to tell. I'd like to see solid numbers coming out of the UK though. Um, so far in my head, I have the euro US dollar trading at resistance right now, and I'm looking here to see if the pound Japanese yen could clear above this resistance. Let's take a look at the euro US dollar really quick. So I noticed that we're over here around this resistance this morning. All right, just making a note of that in my head. And let me start, marking things. So I'm going to put this purple as my new go-to, right? Let's just keep going down the list now. Start blowing through these currencies. We have the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. This is a really, this looks interesting. Let's take a look at this. This is obviously a pair that's used as a risk parameter for what's going on. And then when you saw risk come in late last week, once the U.S. launched that attack on Iran, taking out their top military commander, you saw this right away get priced in here. What's happening now? It's down along this support over here. So this is why it becomes interesting. So we have two supports to look at, two important supports to look at. This one right here is good. And then we have this trend line support below. So on the 8-hour, you can see my voice pick up when something becomes interesting. I at least noticed that. All right. This is something to watch here. I know that we also have the week yen going into the session. All right, overnight in London at least. We can see if that continues. This is something to watch. I'm not looking to take an entry yet here today, but I can tell you that this is going to go onto my hot list, and I'll be looking at this, seeing what's going on over Asia. And if we continue to hold this support, I'll be looking for an entry into London if we then make higher highs. As long as this support holds, I consider this pretty bullish. Consider this pair to continue to be bullish above this support over here. And again, If that breaks out, of course, you get out of the trade pretty quick, but you have the support down here to look forward to. Down here, where if this breaks, again, I'll take another look at a long down along this support line over here, and then you could see further support adding. If you look at the horizontal line of my mouse right over here from this supply zone. Maria, happy New Year. Interesting. All right. So right now, just taking a overview of the euro pound. Last time we looked at it, the price was down over here. If you all remember, it had broken into this channel, didn't hold, and came off. Took out the support over here. And then we followed it all the way up to here. Look how it came back up into this resistance. And look at that long spike. I don't know what went on there. I have no idea because obviously it was the holiday. I wasn't following the markets. But look at this long spike. Is that a misprint? I don't know. Um, could just let's take a quick look. Yeah, that was just a missed data print. All right, that makes a lot more sense. So in that with that information in sight, then there's not too much going on. We're just trading sideways over here. All right, not much going on over there. Ooh, ooh. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Last we looked at this pair, it broke down out of here, and then that was a fake breakdown. Came back up in here, right over here. This was during the New York live session. We said, "Oh, that looks like a good entry." Came all the way up, tested the resistance. Looked like it was going to break out, didn't hold, and now look. Now we're breaking back down out of this trend line. This looks pretty bearish. Let's see if there's a possibility of any type of entry on the 8-hour. Looks pretty good here. We have the look. This looks good. We have the breakdown of the trend line. The test held this time as resistance, came back down, consolidating now with the entry CCI pull back. Right. So this looks interesting. If we're able to get any type of resumption downwards during a live session, meaning live, New York or London, this looks like a really nice setup to the downside. Looks like perfect textbook setup. And now what I do like about both, let me pull up over here on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. So we have over here on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, a possible long setting up. Okay. And then with the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, the reason we're looking at these side to side is because they're both Australian dollar pairs, a possible short setting up. So what do you do in this circumstance? Well, here the reason why I pulled this up and the reason why I like it is because you could potentially take both these trades, one for the Australian dollar and one against the Australian dollar. And the reason why that would be perfectly fine is because, well, they both might not trigger, right? If you start seeing, for example, Australian dollar weakness, all right, maybe that this trade would never even trigger long. That's why we use price to take us into the trade. That's why we look for when buying for price to make a higher high, specifically on the 8-hour time frame or lower low. But again, that would be specific to whatever time frame you're trading, whether it's the 30-minute, 1 hour, or 8-hour, 4-hour. And if we saw that Australian dollar weakness, then you might get a trigger here. It's possible you got a trigger on both these trades. It's possible that the Japanese yen was just weaker and the Canadian dollar was stronger, and you get a long entry here and a short entry here. That could happen. But since you have your risk to rewards ratios, look, your stop is below here. You have a really good. Oh, I have to pause this 1 second. Oh, sorry about that. I do apologize. Yeah, wow. I've seen some reports on those fires. That is horrendous. I don't know too much about it, but I've seen they're so severe. They've created their own weather system that the people are just suffering. I saw that the prime minister went, uh, finally on the scene, and the people wouldn't even shake his hand. I guess he was offering no support to them. Really bad. But as far as how it'll affect the currency, I don't. I honestly don't know. Um, to be honest, I don't know. I think that more, I'm definitely leaning more on China over there. I think that the high gold price definitely helps the Australian gold miners, and I think China and gold definitely have a big effect on the currency. The point where I was trying to make over here with the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, and the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, which are both setting up, but both setting up in different directions against the Australian dollar, is that it's okay as long as you have that favorable risk to reward ratio. And you could see here if your stop is below the low over here, in this case, that's probably where I'd put my stop. You have a really good favorable risk to reward ratio. And then adversely here, my stop here would be a little bit higher, okay, because it would be, it would be above, right around this area around here, which was above this resistance of this trend line, right, and above this last move over here, this spike up over there, um, and you have some room, and you have some room. And the Canadian dollar definitely looks like it's going to continue to keep producing. Everything's looking good over there in Canada right now. So I like those two trades. Let me go ahead and just mark that. Interesting that Blair. Interesting that you're saying that's not also sitting on the 200-day moving hour. It's really interesting that you see often support and resistance levels lining up with other things such as fib levels or moving averages, and these things definitely tend to coincide with each other. Oof, look at this. US dollar, Canadian dollar just continues. Too bad. Too bad it wasn't trading live over here at this resistance level up there, right? During the holiday, because that's definitely a trade would have been getting involved in. And that was just sometimes trades. You could see the entry is right over here. That's on a daily. I'd have to break down to the 8 hour over there. But the entry is over here. And sometimes things just fall right into profit. And that's lovely when they do. As far as what's happening right now, it's a tough one. I need to pull back over here. Uh, I'm not looking to chase price all the way down here to the downside further after this big waterfall move. I'm more concerned if the DXY were to break down further, if the DXY were to break down out of this, okay, then I would get interested in chasing the US dollar, Canadian dollar down at these levels further. But right now, um, I'm not. So I guess that, I look obviously where there's opportunities and where the opportunity is more clear. So far today, I like the Australian dollar, Japanese yen, and Australian dollar, Canadian dollar to see what type of opportunities they are offering. Um, I just don't want to chase the US dollar, Canadian dollar down here. And that's it. How could there be 200 arsonists? This is utterly ridiculous. That seems like, uh, were there some type of activist lighting fires who, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense, right? Why would they do that? Is the risk to reward on the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar favorable? Yeah. After breaking out of it, See this trend line? This is going back since October. All right. And it broke here, but it didn't hold. Came back up. Looked like it was breaking above this resistance, but didn't hold. And now we're back down here. If it, with a stop loss right about there, that looks about like 60 pips away. Always looking for at least, looking generally for a 3-to-1 risk to reward ratio. You could enter things definitely for 1 to 2. Where would our profit potential be? I think that we'll be looking initially down over here. Let me draw this in. This is going to come in as a good reference. This is looking where to see it. I need to drop down to a daily time frame. It's not clear, but I see a light support over here. I'm even going to draw this in light. It's very light. So right over here first, this is not where I'm looking to take profit, but I would watch how price reacted around there. Okay. I would watch to see if price were to for example, start stalling out and then rebounding. If that's the case, I would move my stop to break even right away. If I got into the trade, I'm not into this trade right now, right? My entry, I'll talk about my entry in a second. I want to continue putting in some levels here. I like this one better. All right, these are the areas that I'd watch and see how prices reacted around. I wouldn't be looking to take profit at either of those levels if we were to continue falling down here. Um, so it looks like you have about a 1-to-1 to here to here. But again, this is not a take profit level. This is only watch how price reacts level. And if price were to go ahead and it were to stall out, I would move my stop to break even right away. And I would be looking down around here to see definitely what went on, whether or not this is the place to take profit or to continue holding the trade. Whenever I get into a trade, I'm not looking to take profit. I'm looking to set my stop loss. All right. I'm looking to set my stop loss. And then when buying at the resistance levels, I'm looking to see how price reacts. Right. I'm always looking for them to continue breaking through and holding that trade and then taking profits when they show that they're slowing out and reversing. There's a good risk to reward level here though. But as far as entry, well, you can get an entry. You have an up price bar here during London. So even during New York, if we were to go ahead and make lower lows, and the reason I wouldn't take the trade if that happened. What? Let me tell you why this is really important. You have to know why I wouldn't take this trade if during New York price made a lower low here. Looking at this, no longer is the entry CCI pulled back up as it was when we were just looking at that. But look how long the entry CCI has been below the zero line. It's been below since up here for this long move. So that's too long for me. It's not often that the entry CCI stays oversold that long. So I would be first looking for the entry CCI to be marked pulled away from the downtrend to show me that price has become overbought in the downtrend. And right now it's showing me that it's way oversold. This is the perfect instance where the true trend could really help you. I would not take this trade to the downside if it triggered during New York. And the reason being is that it's just price is way too oversold for too long. Okay. Since over here, I don't know, that's since the 31st, right? So ever since the new year, ever since Thursday, price has been trading downwards. I want to wait first, see if price even comes up, takes another look at this resistance over here. Then things get really attractive. It doesn't need to get all the way up there. I just need the entry CCI to be pulled back up above. That could happen during New York. That could happen during Asia. And then the earliest trigger for me could be during London. Happy New Year. Good to see everyone. Glad everyone we're getting back here together. Just getting back into the groove, finding out what's going on. Let's keep going. Euro, Japanese yen. This looks interesting. Why do I say that looks interesting? What I'm looking at right now, this looks really interesting, right? I hope you all see it. What I'm looking at is this long trend line has finally been pierced. Wow, pretty cool. Not only was it pierced, when it was pierced, it came all the way down to the support line we had drawn in over here. That's what held, and now is testing this resistance line up here. If this holds as resistance, the price is rejected over here, there's an opportunity for a nice short trade, right? So this becomes very interesting to watch. It's pretty self-explanatory. Price broke down through the trend line. Like, we need to change these colors now. This should now be marked as resistance. Price came all the way down. This support held. This, we're above it, so it's support. I'll leave it in there. And if price is now able to continue to resume downwards, and by resume downwards, I mean it's rejected at the resistance, and then price makes a lower low than the previous 8-hour price bar, not during Asia, that looks like a good entry. Why is it a good entry? Because my stop loss is over here, right, above the resistance. Could you put the stop loss above here, above this now resistance? Yep. The further away your stop loss is, the smaller your position size. Okay. The closer your stop loss, the bigger the position size. You want to be risking the same amount, right? Generally speaking, if you're risking 1%, then whether your stop is here or here, the position size is going to be either bigger or smaller. So where do you put the stop loss? Well, that's up to you. Going into the trade, where would I put the stop loss? Depends where the trade triggers. The further to the downside it triggers, I'd either have the stop loss over here, or I would put it back above. You can see this resistance over here. There was support, broke down, held as resistance. That's a pretty safe stop loss. If this gets taken out, if this stop loss over here around 121.45 gets taken out, then you're wrong on the trade. That's why it's a good area to put it. As far as to the downside, when we got back down here, when we tested back down here, I say if at 120.27 area, then you're moving your stop to break even, and you're watching how price reacts. If it holds again, start resuming upwards, take your profits. But is that possible to keep going? Yeah. If this whole situation in the Middle East escalates, this is going to continue going down. Is it possible we get back above this resistance level up here? This trade never even ever triggers. Yep. All those things are possibilities. All we're saying that as we're trading back at this resistance line, and so far it's holding, that a possible setup to the downside is definitely developing, and it looks really nice. Excellent addition and analysis. Thanks, Blair. Excellent addition and analysis. This is not something that I would trade at all. I'll tell you why right now. Look at all these gaps I don't know if I'll do it. Do I have the right symbol here? I have it. Just let me know if I have that. First of all, this is OTC. This is not even trading on one of the top exchanges. You look at all these gaps. This is not something that I would ever trade. Looks very risky as far as a big picture. So, well, if you were looking at this as an investment, generally speaking, it's better to look at stocks as investments, not really for day trading. Um, if you're looking at this as an investment, currencies are much better to day trade. The markets don't close; they're open 24 hours a day. The liquidity is there. There's low liquidity on stocks, especially stocks like this. Um, if this was an investment and you have this possible basing pattern over here, it would really depend on a lot what the company does, if they're making money, if they have any money, um, you know. But I can't offer anything here because I simply don't know, and it's not enough of a mature market really for me to be able to see from here what's going on. Sorry, I just can't offer anything. Yeah, Hanera, those are great conditions for you, especially that last week of the month. You know, for day trading, those were some phenomenal moves. Uh, as for for myself, for a swing trader, you can see here on the. Let's go back down to the Euro US dollar. Like these moves over here, this is what we looked at last year, at the last 2 weeks of the year. You don't really see these type of moves off of nothing. These were year-end flows that took place, right? Nothing else. There were no fundamental news events. It was difficult to trade. Great for day traders. Yeah, let me keep going. Australian dollar, US dollar. Again, so this looks pretty good. Pretty bad and pretty good. Why pretty bad, pretty good? Well, we have this again. Everyone knows we have this year-long breakout. Since the breakout, price came into that resistance, rejected, held the support, came back up. This resistance now held as support, so it's support. We got some strong support down here, right? Or some good support to look at. It's possible that breaks. We'll come back down. This trend line at that point will be extended and you'll have double support down here. Really strong buy area if that ever happens. Really strong buyer if that happens. Right now we're up here though, and we're at definitely some nice support when this based out over here and then held. So what's going on with the U.S. dollar? The U.S. dollar has been pretty weak, right? Um, you can see that reflected in the DXY. See this weak dollar. Uh, it seems to be stabilizing a little bit right there. But what's happening with the Australian dollar? That just because of the risk events, this came off pretty hard. So if the dollar were to strengthen over here, why towards the lower bound over here, if the dollar strengthens up and takes another look at this resistance level up here or this support over here or breaks out to the upside, the Australian dollar is going to really come off further, right? So as far as buying off this support, you know, I prefer personally the Australian dollar, Japanese yen as a possible long over here. And I'm just not, a fan of this setup at this point. That's all I can say. Again, I just go with things that are clearer. If this were to come down over here, if we got to look down over here at any other point, then that would become really interesting to me. And I would be looking to possibly lean into that. I hope at that time I was smart enough to lean into that and take a look at a buy. But right now, I'm neutral on the pair. Canadian dollar, Japanese yen continues to look good. Canadian dollars continues to be pretty strong. Japanese yen is weak today. You can see this support line over here. Should be a little darker right now. Look, it's come into play and held. So that's a nice support line to look at. This is also now support. All right. So is this setting up here for a possible long? Yep. This looks like it's setting up for a possible long as that support's holding. Would it trigger during London? No, you could be in the trade right now. Am I looking to enter it? Again, I just know looking back down at the US dollar, Canadian dollar's been pretty over. We've seen a lot of strength in the Canadian dollar for quite a few sessions now. So I'm not looking to get involved on a long Canadian dollar right now. I'd rather see that reset itself a little bit. So again, so it was my analysis of the US dollar, Canadian dollar that's really coming to play more here on the Canadian dollar, Japanese yen. Um, and again, that's just more of a story of just sticking where there is clarity. And hopefully this continues basing out over here and resumes upwards. I'm just not looking to take this signal over here this, that would have occurred during London. Oh, gold. New Zealand dollar, Swiss franc. This has come off a lot too, and during this current risk on story we're seeing, but looks pretty good here. It looks pretty good here. All right, it looks like it's holding its own pretty well. Um, you have this support down over here. It looks pretty strong. I don't see an entry over here, nor do I want to enter it. Um, things are really unclear as far if Iran retaliates, it looks like the US is going to come back at them pretty strong. Well, at least that's what President Trump tweeted, that if they were to attack, that 52 targets would then be attacked swiftly and severely. So it's a difficult environment, right? Because risk could go. You could see risk come into play really quickly, um, as you did over here. So again, this is just unclear to me. I'm standing aside. The New Zealand dollar obviously was the story we've been watching as the currency was on this strong appreciation. Look at this. This trend line is broken. Um, the question in my head is how long will the New Zealand central bank allow that to happen? Because that's not really going to be beneficial of their economy. This is interesting. You had this broken trend line over here, but price came back down and the support is holding. So it does look pretty good. Um, does look pretty good. If we get below this, and this should be marked as support, rightfully so. If we get below this level, right, then we got some further downside that could really take off pretty quickly. As far as right now, um, if you were holding this trade from lower points, you still want to continue holding that if that's a position trade for you until this area, the support gets taken out. Then you might want to consider getting out of the trade or taking profits, as we could see, definitely about 150 pips lower. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But right now, technically, this still is holding up, looks good. Am I interested in buying it? No. Again, here we go. These are the setups that I'm more interested in. We have in about 13 minutes the non services PMI numbers out of the USA, ISM non manufacturing PMI numbers. just to be aware of that. So far, that resistance level is holding over there on the euro US dollar. Just being aware of what's going on. These are the pairs, since we've focused in on, that I'm more inclined to be trading, the ones that I have marked as purple. The New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen is, definitely at a level here where you could say, okay, well, this is definitely, the support is holding, price is now resuming upwards. It's a possible buy. It is, right? So I'm going to leave that marked green, but I'm not interested in buying it. These have more clarity for me to be watching, the purple ones. Hanero, I don't think so. So I do want to take a look at that. So let me just load up a chart. Give that a minute to load, and I'll come back to that BTC in 1 second. And then we'll take a look after that at the Euro Australian dollar, which is also trading at this resistance right now. So that's also interesting. All right. So which chart should we look at? Let's take a look at this one. All right. First, so this is the 12-hour Bitcoin chart. And so if you're looking to buy Bitcoin, this is my own opinion. I'm going to tell you I'm looking to actually purchase more Bitcoin. All right. And I'm not looking to buy that here, down here. I was talking about this with my wife, or getting ready to talk about this with my wife. Perfect opportunity to talk about with you. Getting ready to buy more Bitcoin. So I'm not going to buy that right here, right now. I am going to go down to a higher time frame right now with you. Let me look at a weekly time frame, daily. So the number that Hernero, I can take off was 5,800, right over there. So I have this area marked at 6,000. Hernero, you're looking at 58. If I go back to over here, 58 was right over here, that low of the spike. Okay, I'm assuming that's why Hernero has that marked in. Do I think price will come back and test that? I do not think so. The reason I don't think so, if you just look on the channel at the Bitcoin halving video we did, and if you look at the reaccumulation box, um, if we tested this and broke below it, then my whole uh, thesis and opinion of Bitcoin would be totally shocked and changed, and I would have to reevaluate everything. I don't think that's going to happen, and I think that I said 6,500 would be the low. I wouldn't be surprised if we came down and traded as low as 6,000 though. Do I think we'll see those levels? No, I don't think so. I think the low is probably in. There's a good chance that this was the low at 6,500. I think when we were trading it over here at somewhere around 7,500, 7,800, that's what I said would be the low. If that is the low, I'm still not looking to buy right now. Why? Because I don't know where the low is going to be, to be honest. Right? No one knows. So what I'm sincerely waiting to do is I'm just waiting for this true trend BTC to reverse on a zero line cross, and then I'm looking to buy. All right. That's where I'm looking to buy. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where the low is going to be. I know I have my marks at 6,500 and 6,000, where I expect those to be the lowest. There was the touch here. There was another touch here, right? And I expect those are the lows, but that could be wrong. And if that's wrong, I'm on the sidelines. When this crosses to the upside, and I expect that will be higher, right? I expect price will be higher. I'm more comfortable buying Bitcoin at a higher price point, which is a safer buy. If that makes any sense to you, Hanera. I know that's not how most people think. Most people are trying to buy when price is the lowest. but you don't know if that's going to be the lowest. I'm looking to buy into Bitcoin to accumulate further, just want at a safer entry. And for me, that is going to be, I'm just going to follow my plan here. It's the best way to buy Bitcoin is just when this true trend turns over to the positive side. There is, and I will look at that this afternoon for you. There is a nice. You could go onto TradingView actually, and if you go into one of the top charts of TradingView, some of the guys have drawn in some nice triangles of I think it's around, I don't know if it's around 8,000 or 8,500, where if that were to break to the upside, it would be a clear signal that we have broken bullish on Bitcoin. But again, I do know that my true trend BTC will coincide with that break. So I instead of having to worry about that, I'm just focused in there. Yeah, I do think the bottom's in for Bitcoin. Um, I don't know for sure that the bottom's in for Bitcoin. I definitely strongly feel that the bottom's in for Bitcoin, and you know what? I'll take a look at that with you because it's really easy and quickly to show you why I think that. All right. So again, just looking at the halving cycles on Bitcoin over here, and we're now currently right around here, right? 2020. We're all the way over here, right? And you could see that this reaccumulation box is held. Where does this line come in? This is right around 6,000 Monero, maybe in 5,800, right? That's why if we trade below this box, that's never happened before on the previous two cycles. And if we trade below there, below 5,800, below 6,000, I would genuinely start to become concerned about my thesis on Bitcoin. So I think that that is definitely the line in the sand, and that's why I think the bottom is in. Again, going back to trading, I always believe until the support is broken, it's going to hold, right? Then when it doesn't, if this were to break, if we broke that level, right, then I become really bearish on Bitcoin, and I'd be looking to start selling Bitcoin. But right now, we're not. Right now, I expect that support's going to hold. I expect the low is in. I expect we slowly rise as we get towards the end into the halving. So I expect prices leveling out here, and that's why I'm not even buying it yet. I'm just going to wait for my true trend BTC to take me into the trade, and then I will look to buy. We could see sideways action. We could see an upward slope into the halving, and then after the halving, shortly thereafter, you saw a downward price in the beginning. Here was sideways price, and then about 3 to 6 months afterwards is when you see the action happen. So I do believe the bottom's in for Bitcoin. I have my levels to know where something's wrong if they break, and which is between 58 and 6,000. I believe 6,500 is the low, and we'll see what happens. But even though I think all that, I'm still not looking to buy Bitcoin. I'm waiting to get a safer entry, and that safer entry is going to be when the true trend BTC on the 12-hour turns positive. Yeah, it's totally possible. I just sincerely hope that doesn't happen. That we get a test as low as 5,800, and of course it could happen. And if we break below there, then what my thesis is totally wrong, and I really am gonna be perplexed and need to really rethink everything. Um, and guys, I need to take a 15-minute break. I know it's the big break. It's the biggest one I ever took. I normally could take out for 5 breaks, but I do need to take a 15-minute break. Right now it is 8:57. By 9:15, I'm sorry, 10:57. You have the PMI numbers coming out in 3 minutes out of New York. Be aware. All right, so appreciate it. Thanks for bearing with me here this morning. The numbers already came out. Where what's I'm sorry. That Yeah, guys, bear with me here. Obviously, I'm just getting back into the swing of things. I didn't realize that there's no calendar events, high impact calendar events tomorrow. That's tomorrow morning. That the one that I was referencing. That's tomorrow morning at this time. Apologize for that. Again, this getting back into here. But there are no further news events then this morning. I believe the halving is expected to occur on May the 2nd, 2020. Either way, that could be off by a few hours or a day, but it is in May, this May. All right, bear with me. I'll be right back. All right, everyone. I do appreciate that. And so I don't know about you, but I find this all really exciting. I'm really, first of all, the couple of weeks off was awesome and really good to get away, right? But really excited to be back. Just going through the charts right now and seeing things developing is I love trading. All right, really exciting. And so let me pull up the Bitcoin halving. I believe it's May the 2nd. I'm sorry, here we go. May 13th is the expected reward drop. So there you go. So bitcoinblockhalf.com. You can just Google Bitcoin halving. The first site that pulls up gives you the expected date of the halving. All right. All right. So just want to take a quick look at my watch list, see what's happening since. To get a quick reminder. I'll look at those again later on the 8 hour. But I want to take a look now at the Australian dollar, US Euro Australian dollar. By the way, we're pretty well into the session right now. Definitely got some more pairs to take a look at over here before we finish all the pairs. But if anyone has a specific pair they're interested in looking at or any instrument, definitely let us know. We'll take a look at it together. Even if we have already taken a look at it, we'll reevaluate it. Right now, here we have the euro versus the Australian dollar, and we have this resistance level up here. Then we have this big supply area and another resistance area. All right, so what's going on and where did this bottom? You can see down here, the support level over here. It spiked through, it didn't hold. Let's add that in as a support level. Now we have some pretty good guidance. So, all right, clearly speaking, if here we're rejected here at this resistance level and resume downwards, that's an entry for sure to take a look at. So this has got to go towards the top of the list. Right? Do I love it? Well, I don't know. You know, um, I do like the fact that prices come up. This is right here. You're seeing ever since. Look at that fake. I'm sorry. Look at that fake breakdown. This is even a better level. Hold on. You can see once price broke through these two, this was a support. This was another support when price broke through them. It didn't hold. This was the whole risk event that has taken place. What's going to happen over here? I don't know, right? I don't know what the general consensus is. I don't really have a gut feeling. I don't know whether or not we're going to see an escalation with the current Iran situation. Um, I wish I had a better insight. So I don't think Russia or China is going to support Iran in an escalation. They're both telling Iran and kind of more or less to back off. And if Iran were to escalate the situation by any type of retaliation, obviously the U.S. would full scale escalate. So there's a chance that things kind of mellow out a little bit. And I think that the Persians are very calculated people. I don't think they're going to do something that is not in their best interest. Um, and you know, is this move overdone? Maybe. But we moved quite a distance really quick, and we're back now at this resistance. So it's definitely something to be watching. I don't trade using I believe one of the most important things in trading is to keep things simple, right? So and by that, what do I mean? Well, you could trade successfully. You could trade successfully with most anything, all right? Uh, so if you're using moving averages, use moving averages. If you're using fibs, use fibs. If you're using support and resistance, use support and resistance, right? But the problem I have, and I don't think uh, I I'm highly adverse to, is using multiple indicators. Uh, and I believe once you start doing that and things get too messy, that it becomes a huge disadvantage. So I do believe that a skilled and successful trader could create a system just around fibs alone. Um, I don't use fibs, and of course I've looked at them and considered them, and you know I know that enough traders definitely pay attention to them. That whether or not to become a self fulfilling prophecy or not. I mean, they come into play. Um, I personally am successful in doing what I do. I think it's really important to keep things simple, and the simpler, the better. So Blair, I believe anyone. I, I, I sincerely, if you're all familiar with the turtles, and the whole concept that a successful trading system was shared with individuals who had no experience in trading. They followed the system and were highly successful. These rules have been shared with, well, they're public now. And does a successful system shared become no longer profitable? Well, you know, we're trading the foreign exchange market. We have a turnover of $5 to $7 trillion. I think if we had a group of, a significant following of, you know, 10,000 people, all trading, the same thing, I don't think that it would have much of an effect at all on the liquidity in the markets. If you had, some pretty big investment banks doing that, yeah, then the dynamics would change. Um, but you have in the foreign exchange, you have so many different actors and players, ranging from governments to banks to investment banks to hedge funds to family offices. There's just a ridiculous amount of liquidity in these markets, and I don't think that anything, having having multiple players following what I'm doing is going to affect what I'm doing whatsoever. And I do believe that anyone who makes the decision to follow it will be successful. We haven't looked at a big player. U.S. dollar, Japanese yen. Blair, does that make sense? Does that little rant make sense? This looks highly interesting to me. Um, Obviously, hold on. Let me just change a few colors here. Multiple supports have been taken out. So let me start off by saying I would not be surprised whatsoever if this resistance didn't hold. Okay. I would not be surprised. But until that happens, and the same thing here, because I wouldn't be surprised if we saw dollar strength, over the next several sessions come back into play. That being said, regardless of my own feelings, I'm only going to trade what's on the charts. All right. That's the difference between being a mature trader and one that's not. Right. Uh, I regardless of my opinion, my opinion is irrelevant. It only matters what's happening. And here we are coming back down, and we've broken through this latest support, and that's now being tested as resistance. Until it's broken, you got to assume it's going to hold. If price were to come off and start trading down below, do I take a sell entry? Maybe. And I say maybe because again, we've been oversold for an extended period of time. I'm going to look at this at the 8 hour with you right now. This is similar to the US dollar, Canadian dollar. Uh, however, here we do have the entry CCI definitely overbought. So this looks like a good valid setup. If we're able to come ahead and start reversing downwards, it's one of those for me that it would be like kind of like close my eyes and hold my breath and go with it and just follow my plan. Um, do I like it more intellectually if we come up and test this resistance level up here? Yeah, this looks like stronger resistance to me, right, than this one down here. It looks definitely stronger and I like it better. And I would be more comfortable taking uh a sell if this resistance held, or even if this one held, definitely this one, because then you're making the lower highs also. So around 108.46, this resistance level here, I really like this trade. Uh, you know, I don't so much like it down here at this lower resistance, even though it's a valid trade and setup, because there are some other ones up further. But this is definitely going to the top of the list. And even though I don't love it, I'm not saying I wouldn't take it if we're rejected here. That's what it's all. I mean, that little nuggets here, little nuggets there, and they wind up becoming, a significant amount of gold. And then there you go. You put it all together, got a nice pile. Um, just gonna keep going down through a list. I'm excited. I feel like it's a good session so far. And by say good session, I mean I feel like I got a nice big list here of possible things to continue to dig further into and look for some possible entries. Overnight here, get back into things. Again, going into the session, this is really important. Anyone who's currently on listening right now, going into the session, I wasn't looking to take a trade, and I didn't even know when the next time I would take a trade would be. And I wasn't even concerned about it. All I was concerned about was going through my normal workflow and getting back into a rhythm. That was my concern as a trader, right? I know years ago, in this situation, all I would want to do is put on a trade. My first trade back since vacation, and I just want to get into a trade. That's that's silly, right? But after going through my normal workflow, lots is developed. Lots is developed. I see a lot of possibilities, lots of setups are in play, and I'm excited about it. Over here on the pound Canadian dollar, so just taking a step back, right? Look at that resistance up there. I know we were all watching that up there. Either which way, right now we're back down here, and it looks like we're starting to make a series of lower highs. We're seeing the Canadian dollar strengthening. Pound is indecisive as far as I'm concerned. It's neutral. I'm overall neutral on the pound right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some appreciation or depreciation on the pound. Uh, Longer term view, of course, I expect massive pound appreciation, but that's impossible for me to time right now, because we could see a large depreciation before that occurs. But right here, it looks like we are currently, you could see some overhead resistance. All right, let me draw that in. You can see that overhead resistance. And if I go down to the 8 hour right now, you know, looks looks pretty solid here. Again, if this holds, if this resistance level holds, and we start turning over, we're in this downtrend. The downtrend could definitely continue, and why there's a possible setup here. I also see a little bit of like, how do I even articulate this? This is what I see. I see this zone over here, and I feel like price could potentially get stuck within it. So although I see a possible setup here, I don't like it compared to other things that I've seen going on. All right. Just making a note of that. And now what's going to happen in the sessions ahead, I'm going to watch and see what happens and how price reacts, and whether I was right or wrong. If we get above here, if we get above this resistance line, well then maybe this starts becoming. Right now there's nothing going on. Where else could I put an important resistance level? We get above this resistance level, and that will coincide with the true trend rolling over to the positive side. Then this looks really nice to the upside. Right now, I don't see anything. Yeah, absolutely, definitely. Definitely focusing on swing trades, and always are looking for the possibility for those swing trades to turn into position trades. A few good and successful position trades a year will make your year. That's it. You'll make your money swing trading, taking trades anywhere from 1 to 3, 5 days, whatever the market gives you, right? So always entering the trade. The mindset is, I know where my stop loss is, I know where I'm wrong and getting out, and I don't know where I know where my potential take profits are, but I'm not looking to take profit until the market shows me it's time to take profit. Okay? Always with a favorable risk to reward. If things ever develop into a position trade where you're entering in as a swing trade with that type of risk to reward, but you get a gift and things turn into a position trade, that could really turn a good year into a phenomenal year. Could you make money day trading Forex? Listen, if you're a day trader, you should probably be focused more in on the futures markets. And also be aware you are trading then against high frequency trading algorithms, and the best and the brightest in the world, and it's a really difficult place to make a living. Period. Day trading is tough. Day trading is hard. Is there more money to be made in day trading than in swing trading? No. You can make more money swing trading than day trading easily. Generally speaking, when it comes to trading and investing, the higher the time frame and the longer you hold the position, the more chance you're going to be successful. Um, so that's a really good question, and years ago, I used to think that for a beginner trader or a novice trader, and so a novice trader, we don't need to get into defining that right now. Um, I used to think it was better for a trader not yet profitable to focus in on just 1 or 2 pairs. I used to really think that was the way. I don't think that anymore. I think it's much better to focus in on all of the pairs and look for the best setups out of all those pairs, right? Because generally speaking, I mean, the way that I do it, I'm always going to say that the way that I do it is the best way to do it because I make money doing it. But the best way to do it is to take a look at all the pairs and then find out of all the pairs which are offering the best opportunity. Because really, it should take about a half hour to go through all the pairs if you really go through them as in depth as we do. Could you do it in less time? Yeah. I think the more time you spend doing it, the better your analysis, though. And I think that uh, out of going through all those pairs and then narrowing it down, again, even though I'm looking at all those pairs, I still only take a few trades a week, right? So I think by only focusing in on 1 or 2 pairs or a few pairs, you're limiting your opportunity, and that's coming from someone who for many years only focused in on one, two, maximum three pairs, um, and oftentimes just one pair. So look, I need to take a step back further here. I'm going to look at the weekly. I'm going to do that without any indicators. And so we're in a strong downtrend on the euro Swiss franc, but you could see we're coming back into this supply zone over here right now, right? And you got some support right here. Look at the horizontal line that I have here of my mouse, and then further down here as well. So that's why it's a supply zone. It's an area of multiple supports over here, this congestion area over here. So, the easy work is over here, where you have not much in between, right? This was the easy work. Right now, this is a tough one. And that's all I could say about it. It's tough, and generally speaking, when things are unclear for me, I step aside. I really want to just focus where the clarity is. Obviously trading is difficult enough already, which is why I keep things simple, right? You have thousands of different choices you can make at all times, ranging from the indicators you use to your entries, to your stop loss, to your take profits, to your position size, to your risk to reward level. You have so many different variables, and if things aren't clear, and right now things are not clear here, um, it's best to avoid them for myself. If anyone sees anything differently, I'm interested to learn, because I don't see anything else here. So I'm always open. I'm always pushing myself to learn more, and that means always keeping an open mind. New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Um, so what are we looking at here? All right. So, I mean, overall, this continues to look bullish. Are we putting in a top around here? Possibly, right? The question is how high, how much the New Zealand central bank is going to let the New Zealand dollar appreciate. Are we going to see some further rate cuts coming up? I don't know the answers to these questions. Um, I don't like to be shorting things when they're in uptrends. So even though I feel like, we possibly are running into a big supply zone up here, we could be turning over shortly. Um, I have to wait for more of a clear breakdown to begin looking for short it. At the same time, I don't like looking this to the upside. I feel like more of like the Australian dollar, Japanese yen is offering a better potential here, especially back down at the support levels over here. There's double supports coming up over into play. Um, anyway, since I'm unsure. I can't tell you what the next thing is going to happen here. Although, definitely leaning bullish here. It still has a definite bullish bias. I just don't know. All right. I'm going to take a quick review of these purple setups here. I'm going to do all those in the 8 hour. So here I have the Euro US dollar, and I see that this resistance is holding right here, right now. And what does that mean for me? Well, because of the time of the day, I'm not looking to take any entries here, right? I don't see anything worthwhile to take an entry, in the next hour and a half, in the next 90 minutes. So so what this means for me is that for all these setups here, I'm looking at London right now. So here's what has to happen for me. I need to see this resistance still holding uh, into Asia. If price goes ahead and gets away from me to the downside, and then I have to step aside and I miss the trade. But if price were to stay somewhere hugging this resistance level, and then during London make a lower low, I am interested in a short entry here on the Euro US dollar. Same thing here on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. All right. Again, if we start, before London, if during Asia we make any higher highs here, uh, you know, I'm just moving aside. But if price is able to hold this support level, and it's during London that the higher high occurs, I like along here on the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. I'm not so sure about this one here. The reason I'm not so sure is that I'm so oversold. So I'm gonna peel off and wait on this one further. I'm not looking to take an entry overnight here on the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. I want to wait and see what develops further. I'm going to be watching this one closely, over the next 24 hours, and waiting to see if we get any type of further pullback. By pullback, I mean the entry CCI finally overbought, and the closer we are to this resistance level, the better when that happens. But this is definitely on my watch list. Let's go to the bottom of the watch list. Here we are on the Euro Japanese yen, and this looks good. Again, we have multiple resistances above me here. And, if we're able to go ahead and these are able to hold during Asia, and then we're able to resume downwards during London, I do like a short here on this pair. Technically, I love this. I love when a trend line is taken out and then the resistance has come up and taken out and tested and holds. Uh, any type of resumption of the trend, that looks attractive to me. Euro, Australian dollar. Again, we're back up here testing this resistance. I like taking trades that are as close to support and resistance as possible, preferably big ones. This looks like a good trade. Again, you all know what I'm looking for to happen. This to hold going through Asia, and if we are able to resume downwards. This one I'm going to wait. Although it's a valid entry right now, valid setup. Uh, yeah, I don't know why. I just feel like standing aside. Obviously, I like it off this resistance a lot better. I feel like this resistance a lot. It's hard for me to stand aside here. Actually, I'm undecided. I'm going to be looking at this one again, you know, later in the day, and seeing what happens here. Um, I'm a little unclear, and I know that I'm unclear, but we are pretty overbought here, and we're definitely down at a resistance level, and we're making a series of lower highs, and the more that continues, well, that's a good sign. So I'm undecided here, um, and this might be one of the trades though, even though that I don't think it's going to work out. Well, being that everything's lining up, it does work out. 100%, Blair. Phenomenal, phenomenal insight, and that's the truth. Absolutely, that's the case. And not only that, those guys, coming back to their desks today, are also, they're doing the same thing. They're looking to get a feel for the market. I didn't expect to see so many pairs at such important levels, but there are lots of pairs at important levels, and I'm willing to go ahead and jump in and see if it's possible to take advantage. But yes, that's normally the case this time of year. So I got a pretty good. Uh, I'm very happy personally for what has taken place today, for what I've gotten done, and I feel like I'm in a really good position. Um, if anyone has anything at all they would like to discuss, if anyone has any questions, um, I'm up for it, 100%. Um, or if anyone just wants to kind of take a look at something, we could do that. It's open to you guys. I'm here if anyone has any questions or anything they would like to review. Yeah, an arrow. I have thought about that a couple of times during the vacation, and I am absolutely. I could tell you right now, though, what I feel is the best thing to do. Two things. First of all, uh, you know, once you have a certain amount of Bitcoin, generally speaking, once you have over $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, it is prudent to then store that in a hardware wallet offline. Um, there are a few different the three best hardware wallets are Ledger, Trezor, and Cold Card. Out of the three, my personal preference would be Trezor. Um, all three of those are, top of the line and highly recommended. By keeping your Bitcoin offline, it's unable to be hacked. It's offline. You're not connected to the internet. Basically, what these hardware wallets look like are like USB devices, and you just transfer your Bitcoin onto them. You have that hardware wallet backed up, so that even if you lose it, or if it's destroyed in a fire, you're still able then to retrieve that Bitcoin through other means. And this is generally speaking for the non uber technical advanced person, way above my capabilities, uh, to store their Bitcoin, and the way that majority of people do. The other thing to do, um, you know, is if you're, for example, if you have any Bitcoin with an exchange or broker, you're trusting that third party, right? The same way that, generally speaking, Forex brokers, when the Swiss central bank broke the peg, if any of you remember that, when was that? That was probably, I don't know, I think that was in 2009. Um, it could have been 2010. I don't remember the exact date. It was right around that time. They had the euro pegged to the Swiss franc, and then they let go of the peg, and traders lost a phenomenal amount of money. And generally speaking, most Forex brokers forgave those trades, and some didn't. Very few didn't. I've I've never I've never known a reputable Forex broker to go out of business, even through the crisis. And the only broker that's had some problems was publicly traded FXCM out of the US. So there are if you're holding Bitcoin with a broker, you're trusting them. That's you have to take that into consideration. Is that the safest way? No, the safest way is holding your own Bitcoin, right? You have to consider your options though. Well, you can't trade it then if you hold it, right? And if you want to grow your Bitcoin, you need to trade it. So you have different factors to consider, and I will do a detailed video on that. But I have a lot of things that I want to do. So when it will be, I'm not certain. Yeah, let's take a look at both WTI and the S&P. So, I mean, this is so similar to gold right now. I mean, all right. First of all, since the last we were together a couple of weeks ago, this was the targets that we had in place, right? We said 64. So I'm not trading crude, but we like to take a look at it. And if I were trading it, those were our take profit areas. Prices come up into those levels and are now selling off. Does that mean this is going to roll over? No way. No way. Could this go much higher? If things escalate in the Middle East, this could go way higher, right? Could you see crude at 100? Yeah, right. If Iran goes to war with the United States, of course. Should you make a bet on that right now? I wouldn't. Uh, what is going to happen, or what could you do? Well, let's extend this trend line, because why this trend line continues to hold is the best gauge what we have to lean into. Right now, prices really, 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 really overextended and bought. You're up at this area that we knew was a take profit level, and you I personally think, or sincerely hope, things are going to simmer down right now. And if that does, I think gold has made a little bit of an extended move, an emotional move off these news. And so long as we have the thesis that we're going to continue to see a recovery in the global market in the beginning of 2020. Why? The Fed is printing an enormous amount of money. It's an election year, and generally the status quo remains in an election year. And we expect things like appreciation in Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, New Zealand dollar. We expect crude to continue to gain. Um, is this a good point for a buy entry? No, this was actually a place to take some profits off the table and then look back in to re-enter the trade. You don't want to be selling this. The only way you would look to start selling crude, the first indication you get below this trend line, yeah, then you could look for a counter trend trade, right? This support down here at 58, pretty strong. I expect that holds. Will we see that level again anytime soon? I don't know. I don't think so. Not anytime soon. But you don't know. You never know. So right now, again, this was a place to be looking to possibly take some off the table and look back to re-enter. When is that time to re-enter? Not yet. You know, at the very least, let's wait for the entry CCI to reset itself. It is. I would not take it though. I would not take this trade at all. Maybe more prudently on the daily time frame. Right? Wait for the entry CCI on the daily time frame to come back down in. All right. Let's look at the S&P. All right. Here's the thing. A lot of people are always looking to short the markets, the indices. And right now, you have the Fed just continuing to print a ton of money, and it looks like they're kind of locked into printing that money. All right. They're easing right now, and it looks like that easing is only going to continue. And if that happens, we should expect to continue to see higher levels on the indices. All right. It's, when these things break down, they break down hard and fast. So unless they're breaking down hard and fast, and it's obvious if they're breaking down hard and fast, you don't want to be shorting them. Is it possible when you see them breaking down hard and fast to get short? Yeah, of course. And is that a good trade? Yes. Is it possible that things could break? Yeah. We're getting to the point in time where things could break. But probably the music plays a lot longer than any of us expect it could or will. And all I can say is right now is that an enormous amount of liquidity is being provided to the markets by the central banks, and you can't fight that. So, you know, uh, I don't see any tradable events going on here on the indices whatsoever. DJ, on either one of those, if you have any different thoughts or opinions, I would love to hear them. I'm not trying to say that my opinion is right or correct or anything like that. There's only what I see. So, and then same thing too. Like this is such a like, although Tesla, I believe is a big short. I would never short it. I would never short it with what's going on right now, um, which is a massive amount of liquidity being sent to the markets by the central banks. Yeah, Jay, let's take a look right now at the US dollar, Canadian dollar. It's definitely been, I think she's consolidating right now at a low. Let's take a look. So, yeah, trading the 4 hour, the first thing you need to do anyway is start at the top, right? Looking here at the daily, right? We've ever since this resistance rejection, we've been in a really strong move, right? Which was is really overplayed, and right now we're consolidating that move. All right. If you step back and you look further back, you could see that you have some support down here. Let me look. Stick with me, Jay. I'm going to get to the 4 hour, but to get to the 4 hour, I have to work my way down to see what's going on. And you could see some big support down here. Let's draw that in. We're going to need that later. All right. And right now, is there anything else? Hmm, just a lot of supply, a lot to work through right here. All right. Come back down to the daily with me now. All right. And before I get to the 8 hour, I just want to also first check the 8 hour. So price is pretty sideways right now. Time of day, Jay, you're coming into the London close, and then um, you have about another hour of trading left this morning, and then once you get to the time of day, 12 o'clock noon time in New York, the next 2 hours of trading are really poor and bad, and usually trends that are ongoing do not persist during that time. So here's the 4 hour, Jay, and I see price is really sideways, right? So if you're shorting here at the low of this box and put a box in here, well, I don't know where you're short from, but you know, is this a place to take a trade short? I have to be honest, unless you broke down out of here and then you were playing the next leg, I don't see a short. If you were doing that, it's not really the time of day. If this broke down out of here, it's not the time of day you would see an extended move. Maybe the last hour of this session of New York session, you could see some possible move continue. But normally, generally speaking, and tradings are never absolutes because anything could happen at any time, but you want to have the most probabilities on your side all the time. Generally speaking, a breakdown at this time of day, you know, would have a little bit of trouble maintaining itself. And that is, you still have another hour. So if you're very short minded, and in the next hour you get a breakdown here and you want to try to scalp 10, 20 pips, that's possible. That's a hard way to make a living. That's a hard way to make a living, and your risk to reward seems pretty poor. Um, you know, it's very difficult. And Jay, hey, listen, if you're at work, you're gonna have much more success trading off higher time frames. Do your analysis off the daily and entries off the 8 hour, especially working full time. And that's the way to do it. You're gonna have a lot more success. So that's my look at it. Hope that's helpful. Uh, did you guys get that analysis or not? Should I redo that US dollar, Canadian dollar analysis, or did you guys hear it? All right, thanks, DJ. All right. So Jay, be very careful about the time of day you're trading. All right. You only have about an hour left in this session. And then you're not looking for entries. If you're short this pair, if I was short here, depending on where I was short from, I'd be watching how prices react around this level right now. I would have my stop already at break even, and if it started resuming upwards, again, if you're trading on the 4 hour, you're much more short time frame minded than I am. Um, so our entries and stops would be different places. If you're working full time and trading the 4 hour, that's a tough way to make a living. Alberto, did you ever get a look at all the information you put together? Ah, I'm not even signed in, am I? I mean, the pound Japanese yen also too is at a pretty important point here. You can see this trading at this resistance level right now over here, right? You can see the trend is rolled over on the true trend. If price gets rejected over here, you do have a possible short in play. I'm not taking it. I wouldn't take it. Just noting what's available. Um, I see. It looks like Bitcoin has come off quite a bit in the past hour. Nope, that chart was just delayed. Yeah, pound US dollar. Let's take a look at that next. All right. So technically speaking, we're still, everything looks good as far as bullish the pound US dollar. You could see the last thing that's happened is we've came back, tested the supply area, which we expected, to see a little bit of a pullback, and then this support over here is holding and is held. That being said, the pound in general for me is really undecided. Um, you know, Meaning it's neutral. I wouldn't be surprised if we came back up and tested this high, and I wouldn't be surprised if we came back down and tested this support down here as well. And we're kind of in between those two areas, and I don't really see an edge either way. It's very uncertain, and you can see that in the price. You can see price spiking up, spiking down, spiking up, and now down. Price is also very undecided on which way to go. And the thing is when things aren't clear, I just, it's best to avoid them until they're clear. So when do things become clear? Well, you get above this area over here, right? You get above this 1.332, and then you have some clarity to the upside. You get below this support down here, you have some clarity to the downside. But there's not much to work with right now and where we are. Yeah, and that could change. I don't see it changing anytime this week. So right now, I think it's, personally, I'm avoiding it because there's just no clarity. That's a good look at it, though. Thanks, Alberto. I greatly appreciate that. That would be helpful for everyone. All right, so Jay, I'm going to take a look at this with you. You're trading the 4 hour, right? So you're noting a possible entry right around. I'm going to draw in a horizontal line here. Oh, the trend line. There you go. All right, 2971. All right. So on the 4 hour time frame, Jay, and again, all this is to help each other. The idea of all this is to build each other up, make ourselves better traders. And looking at that entry as it, I don't see the short entry there. Okay, so if you're trading a short entry, I suppose it would have to be on the breakdown below over here to see another leg go down. If you're taking a short entry down over here, Jay, at 2971, what it looks like you're doing is you're buying into, the bottom of this range, which is your risk, your stop has to be all the way up here, right? You spoke about an entry and a take profit. So and Jay, I'm with you. I'm not against you at all, right? But the way I do it is when I have my entry, the only thing I'm looking to do is put my stop loss in, all right? And I have my ideas of where my take profits might be, or more importantly, where I look to move my stop to break even, all right? But I focus in on where my stop loss is. If you're taking a short, your stop loss needs to be up all the way up here, So you said that you see a take profit of 2871. All right. So you're the area you're looking at for take profit, very good. Right? Very good. 2871 and YJ because you have you have support down there. I'm trying to get your level. Or we'll just put it in right there because I see it around two. Jay, your target area is very good. Your target area is a target area of a swing trader. All right. And you there's some definitely support down there, and that's a good place to be looking to take profits. What I would be looking to do personally at that area is see how price reacted. I have locked in my trade, but if price were to break through hard and fast, then you have another take profit to look at below it. But your take profit area is very good. The only thing is I'm more concerned about the entry and why, right? And um, because what I'm focused on here, Jay, is the time of day. Right? If you even do get a breakdown of this area right now, and the next leg starts off, it's not at a favorable time of day, because when we have the London close in another 45 minutes, things generally at that time of day don't tend to continue to extend unless there was some really like it was a really big trend day, which is not today. Today's not a big trend day whatsoever. Um, so I like where you put your take profit and that you were looking there. I want to know where your stop loss is, what you're looking for, and more focused on the entry. Jay, I really think dropping down, looking at the daily, you work full time once a day, do your analysis with us. Watch the replays if you can't be live all the time at work, and do your analysis on the daily, and then look for your entries on the 8 hour. I think you're gonna have much more success. And then if you do come into this section, Jay, on this discretionary trend following, it really talks about what times of day to be trading, and that's going to be a little bit of further help. Stick with us. Stick with us this week, and see what we could help you with and what you can learn. Oh, okay. Around 8 o'clock this morning. Again, stop loss is definitely in the right area. Um, maybe I often have had and have the problem of being very precise with my stop loss and take profits. And if you've noticed that you've gotten stopped out a lot, and then within like 5 pips or 2 pips, price reverses, then you're a lot like me, where you're a little too precise with your stop losses and take profits. Um, and so you have good stop loss and you have good take profits. I think the things that you need to be focused more in on the entry, which means and the time frame and time of day. So what I'm getting at is you got a lot of skill there, and you're seeing the market well. I think taking a step back is gonna really help your profitability a lot. And Jay, another thing then about that, since you relate a lot to me in that, something else that really helps a lot is by moving your stop losses. This is a bad example here. You can't do it here, so I can't really show you here. Um, but by moving your stop loss, and the reason I can't, we had such a big move here. We had such a big move down here that I can't really show you. Um, but by moving your stop loss instead of where you normally would have put it, but maybe to the net, to the swing high above it, and trading with a lower position size, you're going to see your win percentage. And uh, obviously, you don't need a big win percentage to be profitable in trading. You know, a win percentage of 45, 47% is all you need to be really highly successful in trading. But because of you having the issue that I know of, because I've dealt with it and have it, by you actually moving your stop loss higher than you should and would, and trading a lower position size, you're going to see that you're going to stop getting stopped out a lot where you would, and you're going to see your profitability increase a lot. All right, everyone. I think today I see things kind of slowing down a little. The next 45 minutes are definitely good, and obviously this is when we see some sharp moves coming into the London close over here. I'm going to call it a session though. It's our first one back, and there's a lot of things I do want to get done now that I have a good feel for what's going on, and my plan going in to the next 12 hours, 24 hours of the day. Um, and Yeah, unless anyone has anything they want to take a look at or cover, just let me know right now. Otherwise, in a couple minutes, we'll call this a session and a good one. And there's definitely, as we start the new year, a lot of habits that I just want to realign and get involved with. And definitely, yeah, we usually go about another 40 minutes longer, but I feel like we got a lot covered, and just a good place to call it a day for today. Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Hanero. Happy 2020 to everyone. This is our first trading session, and I'm looking forward to uh, to all of us. You know, sharpening ourselves, making ourselves better traders, building each other up, and therefore that translating into a lot more pips and a lot more profits for everyone. All right. So have a great day, everyone, and really enjoy being back with y'all. And I'll see you tomorrow.